How would you describe your dad?
I would describe him as a happy person, but very modest. He was always in shock about everybody being so in awe of him when he walked in a room or at conventions or things happened, and like, oh my gosh, it's Ray Harryhausen, and you know, he was like, oh, really? You know who I am? And it's like, and it was so humbling, and it was really nice. He had no airs and sort of graces and expectations, you know. He was just, I think it's his background too. He was a hard-working man, so he didn't take anything lightly. It was always a gift that with these lovely people who adored him.
Parents usually have favorite stories they tell from time to time. Did your dad have one you remember? You had mentioned to me before sort of the language mistake he made that one time.
Oh, yes. I can't, it was in Spain, I think, and one of the sets he wanted more smoke, and I think he said más smoko or something, and it wasn't supposed to be that. It was, I don't know if smoko means something else. I'm sorry if I've offended anybody. He came out with this, and the whole crew were like creased up with laughter because he couldn't explain to the guys who were putting the smoke up or whatever the right thing, but they got it right in the end. So, but he had a good sense of humor, and his friends and actors say that he was very patient in explaining things to them. So.
And you told me your mom was very good with languages. Can you tell me a bit about that?
Yeah, she was amazing. She could speak Spanish. She could speak Swiss German, which I think is I don't know if Swiss German is Hochdeutsch, but anyway, she could speak that. So Spanish, German, Swiss German, and French. And she could go from one language to another. Like, I remember we went to the Club Mediterranean and she was talking to some ladies. One was a French lady and one was a German lady. And she was going to both, explaining fluently in language, German, about what she was going to say to the French and vice versa. And it was beautiful to hear, because both parties felt like that they weren't missing out on a conversation, you know. So yeah, she was a very clever lady, and I don't know why she didn't take it up more. But I think that's why Dad took her on some of the sets and things, because she had that skill, and she was great company and support.
Did your dad have any particular habits you remember seeing when he was working that stand out in your memory?
Well, I used to go and see him a lot up in the studio when he was sketching and stuff, and sometimes he would, you know, these characters would have different expressions, so I guess he would have maybe had a mirror. I mean, I don't know, I might be wrong on this, but he would obviously pull faces or stances, the way a creature would go to get what he wanted on the paper. And I know that I saw some photographs of Mummy posing on walls and looking at actions and stuff, and that must have all been towards either getting the actor to do something or the drawings, you know, trying to get that right stance. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I sort of remember that, yeah.
And you also posed yourself too, right?
Unfortunately, yes. He was a bit crafty on that one. On Clash, it was between a lunch break, and everybody had gone, and he was just lining up the camera, making sure it was right for Andromeda, who was getting chained up against the rocks for the Kraken. Darling, will you just go and stand over there for a minute? Yeah. Next thing I know, my hands are stuck on the wall and I'm in these big manacles then. I'm going, okay, he says, just hold it there for a minute. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so he was just making sure that shot was fine. So, but I wasn't very impressed, because I was worried he'd leave me on the rocks there, but he didn't. We went for lunch afterwards, but yeah. So he was always diligent in between takes and that. Just making sure that obviously things coordinated with his animation and that too.
Mm-hmm. And you were showing me pictures that are in the collection, pictures that he took that he would draw over.
Yeah, there were photographs of sets or scenes, like a beach or something, and or maybe he was going to put a castle on a cliff face, and so he'd draw on this picture of how he thought it might go on the original photographs. I mean, there was tons, so it didn't matter, just one photograph with scribbles or whatever on it. But I think it was to give him an idea of how he was going to set it on paper and how it's going to go on film. And it's really interesting, there's loads of little pictures where he's got these pen marks of things that are going to happen and swamp scenes and stuff. So I didn't know he did that, but I guess it's a good way of doing that.
Was there anything in particular you and your dad would do together?
Yeah, throughout my life he got me interested in museums and natural history and films. So we'd go to the cinema together and go to the museums and zoos. And the zoos were mainly to watch the action of the creatures. If he had sometimes we'd go to London Zoo and he'd stand for 15-20 minutes watching a lion going up and down, so he could see the muscle tone and taking pictures. And again, also there's a famous picture of him in, I think it's the Natural History Museum, and he's got a sketchbook and he's sketching this big dinosaur. He used to drag me along too, but I enjoyed it. He had a way about him to make it exciting and want to know, and I was never bored with him. He always managed to keep my attention somehow.
Mm-hmm. You said he definitely loved going to see at the cinema Walt Disney's films. Were there any favorites that you remember?
He always loved Fantasia, because I think it was all the animation of the buckets and the everything happening and that. And he liked Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, all the original, the old-fashioned ones he liked. And then he was a great fan of Laurel and Hardy too. Mm-hmm. We sat many an hour and he'd say there was nothing on TV. Do you want to watch a Laurel and Hardy? Okay, fine. Mm-hmm. So we'd watch that.
Did he ever influence or inspire your own creativity? Same with your mom.
Yeah, it was. I just loved being able to go up at most any time when I was home to see him sketching, and I guess that got me into doing some art and stuff. And I ended up going to art college, City and Guilds, doing illustration, but I never followed through with it. I do it sort of periodically now when I get time. But yeah, I think we were also, Mum was a great drawer. She loved drawing flowers and stuff like that, these exotic flowers and things. So I think we all got inspired by him. Who couldn't? I mean, his drawing was amazing. And he used to doodle sometimes if he was trying to explain something in. And on the cards, he'd do these funny little bald men with one single hair sticking up and big fat lips like this, and love Daddy, and I saw somebody else who had a card like that recently. They showed me, and I went, that's my signature. Daddy gives me that. How come he did it for you? And I was like, So he must have done it for a lot of people, but he had a little character that he used to draw with one little single hair and funny little fat face.
Let's see. Can you talk about the story of you and Herod's with Guanji?
Oh God, is not everybody bored by that? I was so wee. Anyway, I can't even say what, maybe three, 4. And Mummy used to go to Harrods to do some shopping. That sounds very posh, doesn't it? But anyway, we were at the fish counter and we were in a queue and 2 old ladies were behind, and I had a little baby buggy, a little dolly buggy, you have. And the ladies, I guess they were bored, and they tapped Mum on the shoulder and she said, "Oh, can we have a look at your daughter's dolly?" Yeah, I said, yeah. And I pulled back this cover and put down the hood, and there was a snarling dinosaur, and they were like so upset and said, "Oh, you're never going to be normal. You're never going to be a normal child. How could you do this to your child? It's not right." I think it ended up, and we have got somewhere, it was in a Daily Telegraph, and it was put in print about this awful woman that gave these ghastly toys to these creatures to this child. It's somewhere. I know Connor found it. Yeah, so that's the story of me and Guanji. But, I don't know why I liked him. I didn't think he was aggressive, but and who wants to be normal anyway?
So was Guanji your favorite of your dad's puppets growing up, or were there other ones?
There were a few other ones. I guess Guanji was the memorable one. I don't know why I took to him. I just really, maybe it was a rubber or something. And it's amazing that, now to think of a child actually being allowed to cuddle all that. I mean, that's like, and he did have sharp teeth too. I used to play with it with his teeth and that. And I took him everywhere. And Pinky, the elephant that poor Guanji ended up killing. And then there was, I liked the griffin in Golden Voyage, and there was a few, the baboon, quite a few of them I like. I try not to have favourites. But I felt so privileged later on when I realised that really that your dad let you play with these creatures, and I'm going, yeah, why? What, is it not normal? No. I was like, oh, okay. But I think he let me get away with it because I felt like I loved animals, so I treated them. I didn't pull at them. I didn't cut or do anything. Give me a dolly and I'd cut her hair off. But with a dinosaur or an animal, it was very, very different. Very different.
Let's see. Was your mother ever involved with any of your dad's projects?
Not to my knowledge. We have a script that obviously Dad had given Mum, and I don't know if it was The Golden Voyage of Sinbad or if it was Guanji, I can't remember, but her name is at the top. So it was her script to read. She was just quietly there in the background. I may be wrong, but as far as I know, somebody else might have a different story. She was just there quietly supporting him and being there for him, and loved meeting all the people and the different, they were so normal, and she was very good with languages, as I've said before. So, I think she sort of drew people to her.
Did you ever attend conventions with both of your parents?
Yeah, a few times on and off. I think as I was growing up, I must have gone to quite a few. And again, it was quite weird seeing everybody hub around Dad and go, oh, Mr. Harryhausen. And I'm going, oh my gosh, that's my dad. It was like, oh, it was fun. Yeah, it was fun. Meeting all these different people, and I think Mum enjoyed it too.
What are projects you can talk about that the foundation hopes to do in the future?
Really, it's just really doing more of what we're doing, getting out there and talking to good folk like yourself and youngsters and fans, and just spreading the word about dad's stuff, and if things happen, new things, if there's shows or stuff to go talk, and just be there, really, just put ourselves out there for the foundation. And Dad set it up for inspiration of young folk, and you don't have to be a filmie. He did artwork, he did animation, and he was a great sculptor as well. So there's a plethora of different interests. So if you're not a filmie, it doesn't matter. Hopefully something in that will inspire a person to do different things, either film or artwork or whatever, and that's what he really wanted. He thought, the gifts that he's given by the young folk who take time, and yourself who gave me a beautiful picture of the sketching, it means so much, and it really genuinely does, because it's the time that it takes for those individuals to do that stuff, and the time it takes to do the animation, and it's a hard world out there, it really is. And I think Dad he was very lucky in his era that people took the time, and I think he just wanted to follow through and do something that would help people in any way, shape or form.